Talking about it. There we
Okie
go. I
doke.
started recording.
You need to back up over here or anything? You
Um,
good?
yeah, go ahead. I
Yeah.
finally was smart. Well, because we're doing the Fast and Furious movies at the Films and Filth feed. That's a lot of F's there. Uh,
There we
Here we
go.
go. Approve. Fast Films and Furious Filth is how we're doing it. So that's how we decided to take a little break in
Nice.
the middle of that big list. Luke Luke likes them. Mark
Yeah.
wants to watch them. I have the box set and I haven't seen them, so we're doing the fifth one tomorrow, which is where they apparently, actually start, more or less.
No time like the present.
Yeah. So be doing that. Uh you got anything going on for your holidays?
Um, yeah, my mom kind of at the last minute said, "Hey, I got no plans," and I didn't have any plans either. But she's going to come out here on Monday, and we're going to go to Palm Springs for a few days.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. There's a resort out there that does a big Christmas to do, and just gonna go like eat some good food and look at some good mid-century architecture, and you know, have a world famous date shake at Shields Date Farm. You know,
They have the giant Marilyn Monroe statue, is it? Is that
they
Palm
do,
Springs?
yeah,
Yes,
which
okay.
always
I haven't
reminds
been
me of
there,
the
but
thing from Tommy. There's that scene in the movie in Ken Russell's Tommy where there's a giant Marilyn statue that looks a lot like that.
I'll rack
Yeah.
my brain. I think I've seen that movie probably twice. Now, I'll grab a guitar and play along with the live at Leeds version often, but
Yeah, there we go.
not the
Yeah.
studio version. I mean, the studio version
No,
is fine, but yeah, that live
Live
at
at
Leeds one
Leeds
is
is
the where they do
so
the
good.
like
Yeah.
what was it, 20 years later they put out the complete Tommy from that concert, because before I
Yep.
think it was just the section In My Generation where they'd go back to where they went back
Yeah.
to the theme, but
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Um,
Ah, so good.
I don't think I have the proper album like on my iPod or pad or anything. I think it's just the just the Tommy part of that now.
I have I have the original, Tommy album remastered. They did a really nice CD edition a few years ago, but I also have the movie soundtrack not released in the United States, released in Japan on two CD set. And a buddy of mine was working with Roger Daltrey at the time, got him to sign it for me.
Ooh, very nice.
So yeah, that was
And you,
cool.
do I remember you saying you'd seen them twice in the past year?
I saw them three times in the course of 3 weeks.
Oh wow, okay. So you're kind of on the groupie in there. Okay, I mean,
Oh
that's not what
yeah.
they call a groupie's different. It's like, what do you do when you follow the dead? I guess it's
Yeah,
like
right.
that.
What did that make you? I don't know. But yeah, it was twice at the bowl within a week. It was a Wednesday and a Friday night. Then they were gone for a week plus, and then very spur of the minute decision saw them out in Palm Desert. Captain
Mm.
Mike flew in for that one. That was a
I
blast.
think
Yeah.
that's what I heard about from him. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Of course, he's already been on one of these episodes, as I called him for the airplane episode. I'll have to call him for one that does not involve airplanes next time, because I think the last three have all been like airplane episodes. But hey, it's like, it's like kind of an obvious choice. It's like, well,
Right.
there's gonna be pilot speak in here. Let's bring in the guy that can parse that out. Um, I guess we
Yep.
will. I was about to start asking about the show, but I should do that in the proper context of the show, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah.
We
We'll
will.
we'll do a proper show.
Oh,
Yeah.
before that happens, do
Hmm.
you want me to put the opening narration into the chat, or do you happen to have that?
Oh, sure.
I
Yeah.
can
If you
put
don't
that in the
mind.
chat
Yeah.
right now.
Hmm.
There we go. I mean, not there we go yet, but what did it
Yep.
just say?
There we.
Is that all of it?
Yeah. I
Okay.
noticed they were kind of short. Yeah. The
Oh no,
top
no.
and the
I
bottom.
I just saw the
Oh.
words Twilight Zone. I was like, did I just only
Oh.
copy the words Twilight
Oh.
Zone? So
Okay.
the rest, yeah,
Okay. That's it.
people,
Just Twilight Zone. Yeah.
right? People have already been confused if they're like, should I be what? Because everyone's used to coming on the show and trying to do the Rod Serling impression. It's like, well, that's not really what
Right.
you
Right.
do for this one. At least not until the last episode, apparently. But
Yeah.
okay, give it a 5 second pause just so I can spot it, and then I'll start. Welcome to Time Enough Podcast. It's where we are going through all of the episodes of the Twilight Zone. We are now in the Peele Zone, Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone 2019-2020. As always, this is Matt here. Coming back over there, it's John Champion from Mission Log. How's it hanging?
Hey, very good. I'm very excited to do this because I had not seen any of Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone until now.
Yeah, for me, when I started this podcast, I had one of the reasons is because I had been watching a fair amount of Twilight Zone. I got about 5 episodes of the Peel, and this one included, so this is a repeat view for me. But then,
Okay.
maybe you have it too, where you're doing a podcast. You're like, why would I watch that now? I have to watch it in like 2 years, you know? Like
Right.
you guys are coming up on Star Trek Enterprise. When's the last time you actually watched Enterprise, right? It's like, well,
It
it's
has been
coming.
a very long time. But I liked it at the time, and actually, so I caught maybe half, maybe even a little bit more than half in broadcast, and then I got the DVDs. What, a couple of years later, whenever they came out of them, and watched it all. And I think I have gone back and watched an episode here and there, but even then, we're talking like 2007, maybe 2010, and even then, not a complete watch through.
And yeah, you
So,
guys are about to do that one, so I haven't
yeah.
watched Enterprise recently, with the lone exception of Singularity, which I watch with regularity. So uh,
Oh, you do? Why do you rewatch that one with regularity?
it's just one of my favorite Trek episodes. It's
Okay.
every episode somebody's favorite. If anyone does watch Star Trek Enterprise, and that's the one where the engineer becomes obsessed with the captain's chair. So I
Yeah,
just love
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
but yeah, the Peel ones, I was enjoying them, and then was like, yeah, let's watch some of these fresh. This not being one of them, but hey, more Trek
Hmm.
connections. We got John Cho in here, so
Yeah,
and John Larroquette, so yeah,
yeah,
multiple connections there.
yeah.
Um, I am curious first impressions with a completely new Twilight Zone.
I actually really liked it. I mean, look, as we get into the story and the themes here, there are things to pick apart, certainly. But like, it hit all the sweet spots for me. It was weird. I thought Jordan Peele did a really nice job of doing that intro, outro, making it his own, and just making kind of the narrator host a character and not just a Rod Serling stand-in. I thought it looked good, like it was filmed well. I loved, we'll get to the nitty gritty, but the scenes of John Cho in the present, kind of with the mystery of why he is strapped down to we assume like a hospital bed or something. I thought those were appropriately creepy in the way that they were shot. And in the Twilight Zone tradition, you're doing a story that's got some modern social political relevance. So certainly A for effort all around. And it made me want to watch more of this particular version of the Twilight Zone. And it made me bummed that nobody has quite yet cracked the code on how you make the Twilight Zone another long running hit. you know, because there have been many attempts over the years to revive and refresh the Twilight Zone. We all, I say we, meaning fans like, well, maybe just me and you, I don't know, a demographic of podcast hosts, I still go back and watch the originals because they're so damn good. But my heart is open to a new version of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, and actually on the show, someone pointed out a few episodes ago. Was it Mark? Was it Sean? I don't remember. I've been
Uh,
doing a lot of these close together, but noting the difference in Jordan Peele's narrator is Rod Serling seems like weirdly confident when he's doing them, like he is and Jordan Peele seems like he's terrified and just trying to hide it as hard as he can as he's
oh,
like
see,
doing
I
the
didn't
open
notice that at
narration.
all. Yeah, I
No,
didn't
I thought that
notice that
was
at all. Yeah.
because he's kind of got almost that weird comedy stare as he's doing it, sometimes. But maybe
Yeah.
because I've watched too
Well,
much Key and Peele. But yeah,
yeah, that's the thing. We only see him as the comedian from Key and Peele, and that's tough if you kind of get pigeonholed into that role in the public's eye. But no, I thought he was very good in this role as the host narrator. Thought he was fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Rewatching this last night, having
Hmm.
that in my mind, like, oh, he's terrified as he's doing the narration. Like, I was like, oh, that actually really is. That's the key that turns this lock and really makes it work. And makes
Wow.
it different than the Serling. So I like that a
Yeah.
little bit. Not my
Yeah.
own thought, but I appreciate the thought. Speaking of
Yeah.
the opening narration, I'm going to have you read that, but first I'm going to crack into a bit of the trivia.
All right.
Original air date here was April 25th, 2019. Andrew Guest wrote the teleplay. He's also done scripts for Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Community, and 30 Rock. Richard Shepard directed. His credits are not extensive, but they do include a bit more 30 Rock and the Emmy Award winning pilot for Ugly Betty. I haven't seen that show, but my wife, I think, was doing it. She
Hmm.
she sometimes will go through a show to try and, she's Japanese, so she's trying to raise her
Hmm.
English level by going through some TV shows. But I think
Yeah.
she gave up after season 3 on that one because I found the DVDs for like season 4. Hey, they're cheap, and she's like, I'm over that. So
Done with that one.
Raph Hanks was played by John Cho. His credits are extensive, but he's the Harold in Harold and Kumar and Hikaru Sulu in the Star Trek Kelvinverse. Jacob Tremblay was Oliver Foley. His breakout role was in 2015's Room, and he appeared in the 2016 satire Donald Trump's The Art of the Deal, the movie, which weirdly stars Johnny Depp. At the time, it was very funny. Now it's probably nothing to do with this. So,
Oh boy.
Allison Tolman was Mara. She apparently stood out in the first season of the Fargo TV series, but I have like the Coen brothers' view on that. It's nice that it exists, but I absolutely have not seen it, which is apparently what the Coen brothers said when they were, or at least one of them, when they asked about the Fargo show. It's like, it's nice they did
Fair.
it, have not seen
Yeah.
it. Former President James Stevens was played by John Larroquette. We all know this guy. Stripes, Night Court, a sitcom named after him that ran for 3 seasons. And let's not forget that Klingon in Star Trek 3, but you'll never spot him. It took me forever to do so. It's like, is that one Larroquette? Is that one Larroquette? Whenever.
Maltz.
Oh, okay,
Right?
there we go. I just need to remember
Yeah.
that bit because all that Klingon makers like I can't quite figure out which. I know he's here, but I can't quite figure out which one he is.
You had to pick up the voice a little bit. There's a little bit of Dan Fielding in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad again, glad he's there. Can't point can't point him out in the lineup, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
speaking of the opening narration, if you could have a look see at that and give us your spiel, if not
Here
your
we
peel.
go. Meet Raph Hanks, a Wunderkind, once the most successful campaign manager of his generation. Now Raph finds himself in a valley of booze and regret, one filled with bad choices and even worse polling. He's about to embark on a misguided road to redemption, and on his way back to the top, he'll have to take a dark detour through the Twilight Zone.
Okay, thanks.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
this is an episode. It's like, how do we start cracking this one?
Right.
Um, I guess watching this, I haven't seen it, but I definitely somewhere in the back of my mind have the movie slash book Primary Colors, which is the
Oh,
late
yeah,
90s. It was like popular book, prestige film, and I was like, well, this is kind of a little micro genre of the election run up thing, which we occasionally get. Twilight Zone, I don't think, has gone for something quite this overtly. I mean, I'm talking about the '60s show and this one, so I
sure.
haven't watched all the ones in the middle. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're like hitting a political thing, but just this strain of like the election vibe.
Yeah. Well, and look, I mean, you said that this premiered in April of 2019. The upset of the 2016 election was still fresh, of course. And, I'll just go ahead and say it, Donald Trump got sworn into office January 2017. So this show or this version of the Twilight Zone is very firmly rooted in that. And then look, that's always going to be the question for a science fiction show. It's like, if we're telling stories that are culturally, politically, socially relevant, how do we make them relevant? How do we not make them just like an outright parody of what's going on? Because that's not really what we do. We need to have some sort of insight. We need to have some sort of angle on this whole thing. We need to have a message at the end of the day. Um, but if we're in it, what are we going to do that isn't just sort of tipping our hat to the audience and going like, yeah, we get it. We're here too, you know?
Yeah, and that's something that I think like in the past year maybe isn't so much. So this is an interesting spot where, the media companies were a little more like, "Hey, let's push against it." And I don't
Yeah.
know if it's just like been a little bit of like giving up or whatever recently. So
Well,
maybe
look, I mean, it's so interesting that when we look at classic TV shows, and we can make these very broad strokes and go like, oh, okay, well, an episode of The Twilight Zone that aired in the early 60s, or an episode of Star Trek that aired in the mid 60s that had a very uh, purposeful like stance, like an anti-war stance, or uh, you know, like what's the one the Maple Street, where you're talking about your neighbors and like paranoia and fear, communism, etc. All right, we can paint with very broad strokes and go, oh, okay, well, this show played like this in the 60s versus this show plays like this in the 90s or 2000s, or into 25. With this one, you almost have to get down on a micro level and go like, this story would have been something very different in 2015, 2016. Now it is something very specific in 2019, but here we are in 2025, and yet again, there is a whole different context of how we look at this, not just because of like explicitly what played out in the political landscape, but like you just mentioned, a media company choosing to produce and then broadcast a show with this kind of a message in it. It's like you almost have to go year by year and go like, yeah, okay, well, here's what we got of it now. Oh, guess what? It might change again in 6 months or a year.
Yeah, I was actually looking through my episode list. I was trying to think of from the '60s show, the one that I thought got most overtly political, which I was going to say, oh, is the used car salesman. But the name of that episode is The Whole Truth, which kind of just ends with
Mm,
specific political references. This show doesn't do that, by the way. I mean,
yeah.
everything's an inference in the Wunderkind, right? But in The Whole Truth, that's like the time in the
But
'60s.
is
They
it
just
though?
laid it right
Is
on
it
the
though?
table.
Yeah.
Well, it is interesting because I put on one episode for my dad last year, not this one, and he was like, "Huh, it seems a little woke." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I guess it is a little woke, isn't it?" This is, I mean, let's face it, this is the woke Twilight Zone, and we'll see how that ages, you know? So,
Yeah, yeah. But here's the thing. Does he mean that? And I don't want to get too in the realm here of speculation about your family, but is he saying that specifically because of a progressive political message, or just because it is critical of a politician or political point of view that is his own?
I didn't get into a specific conversation on that. I think it might have just a
Okay.
lot been like I'm watching a Twilight Zone, but now it looks like and it feels like modern television, and that just doesn't feel right to a certain. If we're used to watching the original Twilight Zone, seeing a modern production could be a big part of it. Like they're dropping
Yeah.
F-bombs now, that sort of thing, you know?
Yeah. 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 We also have Star Trek to thank for that.
Although I think I mentioned this last week, but interest like when Discovery started dropping F-bombs, Star Trek Discovery, it didn't really bother me. Here, it doesn't
Mhm.
bother me, but it feels more like not right for some reason. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
No, of course. Yeah.
I turned on. I've had a few F-bombs dropped on the podcast. I'm like, I don't need to edit them anymore. They're in the show now, so
Yeah.
why bother?
Right.
So
Right. Right.
I don't necessarily use the censor. So I did the same thing this show did, but again, it doesn't bother me. But I don't know. I guess the original show has such a class feel that when they're dropping them in this one, you're like, it doesn't seem classy, you know? Maybe
Right.
that's
Of
what it's.
course.
It's not that it's offensive. It doesn't. And this one has like 8 dropped in like the first minute. I noticed. So as
Yeah.
the president is
Well,
ranting and raving, great performance, great stuff. But yeah, just it's like, oh,
yeah.
that's different for the Twilight Zone.
But Twilight Zone and Star Trek both exist in that kind of like elevated language. It's just a step higher. It's just a step more than how we colloquially interact. And of course, by the time you get to next gen, it's even more so. There is a formal style to it. And Twilight Zone maybe had a bit more flexibility because it was an anthology show, and you could get certain characters to talk in certain ways who then you're not going to see again. But of course, in the 50s and 60s, they're not going to be swearing. It's just the patter is going to be a bit different. So I kind of, yeah, I expect more out of Twilight Zone. I expect more out of Star Trek, you know.
But someone is writing this.
Hmm.
Let's see where else. I'm thinking of the common threads we've been looking at with this show so far. The other one, which I think I've called some shows out season 4 the original series style for like, geez, you could cut this in half. This
Yeah.
one, I think it's a little bit shorter, and some of the others about 40 minutes. I don't
Hmm.
think this one was padded out much. I thought this one was paced pretty well.
It was paced well. I did about midway through, because again, I haven't seen any of this version of the Twilight Zone. About midway through, I was sort of playing the home game and I was looking for a twist. And I was like, okay, what's gonna happen here? The kid's an alien. No, the kid has special powers and he's going to send somebody to the cornfield. No, you know,
He kind
uh,
of does though, by I
but
mean
he kind of does, but he does it in a real world way. So the things that happen here, they don't rely on magic. They don't rely on supernatural powers. They're just the awfulness of people who are corrupted by power.
Right. So I guess should we just get straight to Oliver a little bit, because I feel like
Yeah.
Oliver was chosen as a name because we got cousin Oliver from the Brady Bunch. He sucks. So right.
Sure.
So that's kind of like in the back of our a Twilight Zone viewer's head's probably a little older. They probably remember cousin Oliver. So
You didn't think of Oliver Twist? I
I,
mean,
no, because this kid's annoying. I thought cousin Oliver.
okay, fair. Yeah. I think cast well because you have to have all the lead up scenes where you're questioning, like, oh, okay, is this just a good kid who is sucked in by the power of fame and this little taste of celebrity that he gets? And of course, we have the whole social media angle where he very quickly becomes obsessed with his numbers and how many likes and views does he get. And there is an innocence to him, and you sort of feel the excitement. And he has this very very like Norman Rockwell view of what the best of America should be. You know, we get an extra day off of work and free ice cream for everybody, and in his world, free video
As well,
games
say
for
ice cream, video games, you get more value monetarily wise,
of
probably.
course. Yeah, yeah. But then you start to question, like, okay, how much of this is cynical? How much of this is really him? And then how much of it gets twisted because, oh, that's what the audience likes to hear.
I do think it's twisted. I mean, it's not like, oh, this kid's awesome at the start. It's like, yeah, he's a little YouTuber brat, right? But
Yeah,
you don't get the maliciousness until the power comes in. He like
yeah,
just instantly gets corrupted by it. I like that when the twist does occur, it's in like, oh, I think Nixon put this in here,
yeah.
so you got this Nixon paranoia suddenly coming in, and then the totally
Yeah.
bizarre lighting. I love that. Maybe that's the supernatural element when the lighting goes like weird and disco in that golf
I
room.
was that like did the kid have that on a remote control? Like he pushes a button and then the lighting changes and that's his dramatic moment? Or
Yeah, that's
just
that's what I got. Maybe Nixon had that put
okay.
in there. I should hope so.
Maybe so, yeah. But yeah, he's saying all of this stuff early on. And look, honestly, there were things in the script that I thought were a little weird, that I thought were like, okay, this sounds like an adult writing for a child. And there was a disconnect there. But then I thought like, oh, okay, well, maybe it is all very calculative, and then therefore it's okay because here's a kid being really manipulative and calculating what he thinks the audience wants to hear out of an 11-year-old child. So maybe I'll give them a pass. There were weird moments at the beginning as we're just like rushing headlong into the story, where I felt like there was a lot that was just super condensed with the Raph character, and especially it's like he sees this kid on the news, and the next thing we know, he's sitting there eating spaghetti at their family dinner table, and I'm like, were you friends with the mother and father before? Like, why are you there? Why? How does this happen? So there were things that the script just kind of like wants you to gloss over and just go like, no, 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 just go along for the ride. This is leading up to something.
I mean, I
Trust
guess
us.
he's a type A campaign manager, type A personality campaign manager. He might just go knock on that door and start
Yeah.
ranting, and they were trying to be polite and got him in for spaghetti. I don't know.
Invite me in for dinner now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think they thought of that, but yeah.
Right.
At the same time, though, in a few of the other episodes, I've been like, why didn't they just rip this subplot out? So getting from point A to point B that quickly is probably fine. This
Okay. Yeah.
so far, the show's been a very interesting thing about how do you do good modern pacing on streaming. Maybe because it's an anthology, so we're literally hitting the reset button every week, you know?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So new actors, new situation, new story next week, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Um,
Exactly.
2019, what is the main signifier for this kid? Bieber's been around for what, 6 years at this point? So I feel like maybe that's too dated,
Oh.
but I mean that's
Yeah.
my first thought, like the giant maybe Bieber could have gotten elected for president back when he was, 14 or whatever.
Right. Right. Right.
I mean, he's not
But
getting my
it,
vote, but
but and interesting. So Jacob Tremblay, who played young Oliver here, is Canadian, uh, but he's very much cut from this like hyper American cloth. Like he's got to look like the quintessential Midwestern kid with like the perfect family, and they lay that on pretty thick too. But to great effect.
yeah. I don't know. I will say, having recently been in the States again, I did
Hmm.
find kids of American kids somewhat more annoying than kids in Japan for some reason. I don't
I
know what
don't
it was.
doubt it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I can't even put my finger on it. Yeah, because my Japanese got better. I usually know what kids are saying when I hear them around Japan, but I guess there is. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just everyone lives more in closer quarters, so there's a little more personal space. Even with kids, like kind of will leave a little personal space and stuff,
Right.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, well, how about Raph Hanks, which I thought was a kind of a weird name. Makes you think of Tom Hanks. I don't know if it should or not, but
I thought that too. I was wondering if they like had some particular actor or some particular type in mind when this name came up. Yeah, Raph Hanks is an odd because the family has very sort of like generic, Joseph and Helen and Oliver. They're again just like stamped right out of the Americana playbook.
I mean, I guess it's yeah, we're in the era. There's always like a few like well-known campaign managers, although then they kind of go out of your brain after the campaign, so it does seem kind of like a ephemeral celebrity, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, James Carville, he's he's the one that comes to mind now as like, still having a name for himself. But yeah, but again, James, pretty straightforward name.
But the with Raph, the disconnect I find is, of course, because of his job, he comes across as very affable, but almost everything he does in this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like he does not make good decisions,
No.
for the most part. Like, well, I guess we'll talk about that more, like when he deserves it, or what does he deserve, whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, I guess there is a nice fixation on Oh, here's what the other thing that thought I thought of the movie Bananas, where the new dictator takes over and just starts making bizarre proclamations. Was it
Yep.
everyone who is under the age 16 is now 16, right? So I definitely thought of that when Oliver starts making and trying to make his campaign promises happen, which apparently is very good at getting that done.
Yeah.
Because at the
Yeah.
end, it's like, what is it like? I got to go play a video game, so let's get this done quickly,
Yeah.
just to get.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
even he implements those even more than say adult, presidents. So,
Hmm.
what's your campaign promise? You want to make any campaign promises when you're gonna?
Oh, man, that's
I
really
am looking for
good. Look,
banana styles, by the way. You don't have to give me the.
look, if I were being realistic, my campaign promise, like I really love the European model. I don't know how it is in Japan for you, but I love the European model of lighter work days, definitely more vacations built in. We're just having a discussion about that today here in the office, and I'm like, okay, there are some countries where you get like 10 weeks of vacation a year, and that maybe that's a little much for the American workforce. I don't know, but like I used to work for a company that had Flex Fridays, which was great. So I think you could implement that on a national scale and you'd be okay. I think you could definitely implement some more federal holidays. I think you could definitely, you know, instead of the average company having like a 2 weeks paid vacation, let's kick that up to six. I think in Germany that's the standard, right? So yeah, I would aim for something like that. I'd
Oh,
be
you should do that in
reasonable.
Japan then. Japan's in the opposite direction because after the war, it's like we have to work hard to rebuild the
Oh,
country, and
this
they
is
just
like
never.
24/7. Yeah.
So yeah, people work in like 60-hour work weeks. They don't take their vacations when they legally have them. Show up to work
Oh,
sick. That's yeah.
oh. See,
That's one of
now
the
I want to
reasons
run. Now I
masks
want
were
to run
so
for office in Japan, so
yeah.
I can make that my campaign promise in Japan.
That's one of the reasons masks were so prevalent in Japan even before
Oh,
COVID is
sure.
because you're showing up to work and you are sick, but it's like I can't stay home, I
Yeah.
can't take a day off. So,
Ah, that's rough, man.
right, right. Now I get to thread the needle a little bit as a foreign worker because
Yeah.
I don't feel social pressure to wait until the manager leaves, which is another thing. It's like you don't leave the office until the manager leaves the office, and if the manager feels like hanging
Wow.
out till 10 p.m., you're hanging out till 10 p.m.
Oh my God. Wow. Oh, feel
I mean,
bad for.
the
Yeah.
trains is where they draw the line. I know Tokyo Disney people get annoyed because, like, say you want to ride like I don't know, Beauty and the Beast or something, one of the more popular rides. The
Yeah.
line might close at 8 because at that point it's a 60-minute line. So it's like now closed because we close at 9. It's like, well, can't they go a little
Oh.
farther? Yeah, but the workers have to get home and like most of them take the train. So
Yeah. 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 Wow. By the way, that is something that our previous president and I have in common. Big advocate of trains, and that definitely infrastructure for rapid and mass transit. That would be high on my campaign list.
yeah, I was having not an
Yeah.
argument, but a discussion last week. A coworker from Seattle, and
Hmm.
she was like, "Oh yeah, the trains, in Nagano, where I live, suck. Like
Hmm.
basically, it just goes a train goes up and down a valley. I'm from Atlanta, where the public transportation's even worse. I'm like, no, it's great
Yeah.
here.
By the
So
way, I can't remember where I might have been in the museum in LaGrange. I can't remember where I was, but there was a map of the entire train system in Georgia in like 1910 or something. It looked like a spider web. I mean, you could get a train theoretically from any town to any place, anywhere in the state. And then you overlay that with a map now, and it's just like 95% of those tracks and those routes are gone.
there
So we did at one
is.
time have the ability to get anywhere at any time by train.
There is some of that here where we still have one or two, but there used to be a lot more spur lines that would go up into like mountain valleys or whatever. Like
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and some of them are now walking trails. Just yesterday I was walking by and I saw this sign. It looked like a really old restaurant sign and it was down beneath the road, right? And I'm like, well, obviously this road must have been completely different when that restaurant was actually in business. And that street's
Right.
looked like that for me for 20 years. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
wonder what happened here. And I was wondering if, oh, maybe like this used to be like a train thing or something. So, uh,
Wow. Yeah.
no trains in this episode, although I'll do some train talk. Why not?
Yeah.
Um,
Whatever. Yeah.
why'd I write this note? I don't think sibling should be vice president. Let's not forget Billy Carter. That comes up. That is weird. The mom is actually the president in this, right? So,
Well, in theory, but she never actually does anything because Raph tries to reason with her, but she's just like she's checked out, you know?
yeah, but she technically is the president, right? So if Oliver
Right.
is just getting weird and paranoid and nuts, technically she could top that off a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's part of the weird cornfield thing that goes on in this. So, this
Hmm.
is a way where it's hitting a beat from It's a Good Life, but in a way that's very different and doesn't feel like redundant. I do like that. So we have had a few episodes where either it was kind of a straight remake, or it's just like, oh, this does feel like this thing in a previous Twilight Zone.
But I feel like it felt like that in a very good way, in a modern kind of like a nod to say that this is an idea that needs to be revisited, not just we're out of ideas and we're going to have creepy kid with a lot of power. It's like I said, to me, part of the magic here is that you don't have magic. You don't have any sort of supernatural power. You just take basically Billy Mummy from, that they kind of cut from the same cloth, and you just go like, oh, okay, here's a kid surrounded by sycophants who are scared of the power that he has. Well, what kind of power can we ground in the real world? We're just going to say that he's the president. And guess what? We have a president. Sometimes we have had maybe, other presidents for whom there are no people around to say no, to say this is a bad idea. They're either too scared, they don't want to lose what little shred of power they have. Maybe they have checked all of their principles at the door. But this is the kind of situation where you can go like, yeah, realistically, that's how we get there, is that people are afraid of the guy in power, even if it's an 11-year-old kid or an adult who has the emotional maturity of an 11-year-old kid.
Something else this episode puts out is kind of like how you have to, I don't know, I guess jettison things in a real politic way. Like the people that are with you that get you elected cannot be the people that remain with you. Like Raph is not
Mm.
actually going to be useful for him, really. He's just an annoyance, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happens to Trotsky way back in the day too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, there's no
Not that was
loyalty.
an election, but
You got to the point where the power in maintaining that system is more important than anything. So, if you don't have absolute loyalty, then yeah, it's gonna
and
jettison
then
those people.
I'm gonna call this good casting because it had like kind of a meta thing. Because Aaron Douglas shows up from Battlestar Galactica. I'm like, oh yeah, I like him. And then he turns out to be like the worst. He like
Yeah.
immediately turns over people as a traitor. But
Yeah.
again, it's like I think that worked because seeing him and having remembered Battlestar, and a lot of genre fans are going to be watching this. Like, oh yeah, I like him, right? And then
Yeah.
oh no, this guy sucks.
No, he was great. And of course, I mean, John Larroquette, I think was terrific. That was just a great choice. He sort of has the presence early on when we don't know fully what this character is. He has the presence. You can go like, oh yeah, that guy could be president. I can see that. And then when he turns and he's this like horrible, this despicable, explosive force, you're like, yeah, John Larroquette plays that pretty well.
Yeah, I mean that's a ringer there, and I feel like I
Yeah,
haven't seen him. Maybe I've just been watching the wrong things, but
yeah.
yeah, I still have '90s Lyric head in the mind. So when I see this older guy, I'm like, oh, okay, huh, haven't seen him for a
He
while.
had didn't they rebooted Night Court, and
Was
I
he
seem
on
to
it?
have. I think he was the only one
Oh,
who
okay,
was back. Um, oh yeah. Here we go. I just looked it up. Night
yeah,
Court, 2023, 2025, 47 episodes. That is no small feat
yeah. I
in
guess he
this
just
day and
keeps,
age.
yeah, he just keeps doing TV, The Practice, Boston Legal, The Librarian. So I haven't seen the TV shows he's on. So he
Yeah,
does an interesting job of straddling TV and movies though, because you do feel like he's a movie guy as well.
yeah,
Like more than most people without breaking to the A list or whatever in that. But yeah, hmm.
yeah. Huh.
Casting
Oh
cool all the
wow.
way around. Another little thing with John Cho I like is whenever Raph gets drunk, his bangs drop. It's like you can tell how drunk he is, like where
Yeah,
his bangs are.
they really do. Yes.
So, and I
Yeah.
feel like that must have been like a actual, conscious decision
Oh
by
yeah.
the hairdresser, if no one else. They think about that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I guess we should talk a little bit about the fact that he does worse than Biden at the debate and then bounces back with his October surprise of a dog dying, which that's good writing at least. I hope that's
It
not
was.
reality, but it kind of is.
No. It was good. Well, and it references. There's our second Nixon reference. It sort of rhymes with the old Nixon thing with the checkers ad. Remember, they tried to humanize Nixon in his, was it in the 1960 campaign where he lost Kennedy? I can't remember, but it was a big deal, big deal out of making this very humanizing ad campaign around his dog Checkers. So, now Checkers was not dying, uh, although he's long gone. from our
Now he is.
perspective
Yeah,
now.
dogs don't live that long.
Yeah, but that was like a very, again, a very calculated thing. And in the great tradition of presidents who have had dogs that kind of, serve that purpose. They kind of have a bit of a campaign life. You get to know them a little bit. Or if you're Biden's dogs, you chew off the hand of the Secret Service assigned to you.
Yummy.
Mhm.
Um, I do like his. Maybe this is because I do like those '90s, skateboard video game layers. But I did like Oliver's tricking out of the Oval Office. Of course, now it's got a baseball hoop and a swing. I'm like, yes, I
Yeah.
support that.
By the way, great wide angle shot from the top of the Oval Office. I really wondered where they got that set because I assume it was an existing set that you could rent somewhere. But putting the camera way, way up top and doing that super wide shot, that was cool.
Well, there's a whole weird subculture of fake Oval Offices because most presidential libraries have a fake Oval Office. Some people have built their own fake Oval Offices, and then other museums and stuff. So there's like probably like 100 Oval Offices scattered around the country.
Wow. I have some good pictures of myself in the Nixon Oval Office down at the Nixon Library in Yorba Linda, California.
There you go. Yeah, as an
Yeah.
Atlanta guy, I think the Carter Center had one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
I love
haven't.
the Carter Center actually. Yeah.
Oh, great place. Just it haven't been
Yeah.
there since I was probably on a school trip. So I was like singing, was
Hmm.
did we have a fake Oval Office there? So
I think
um,
so.
I'm pretty
Yeah. Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Let's throw some questions on this one. I
All
guess
right.
who in this episode goes into or through the Twilight Zone?
So many people. I mean, Raph for sure. And his fate is sealed, unfortunately, at the end of the episode.
I don't know. That doctor
Um,
might be able to work it out. You might get lucky.
he's he's 10. um, Oliver goes through the Twilight Zone. He is, look, he might be an awful kid to begin with. We don't really truly know, but he is only made more awful by all the influences around him and the pressure of the Twilight Zone that is around him. The parents are certainly along for the ride and get fully corrupted by this as well. And I'm looking at you, Helen, because you're an enabler here and you're just fully bought into the situation. So she definitely goes through the Twilight Zone. I would say that the American people go through the Twilight Zone of having elected this awful little child to be their president, and things will only get worse for them in the fate that they have created for themselves. So there's a lot of Twilight Zone hopping in this episode, but I think the one that we are most meant to follow here is Raph, the John Cho character.
And that's for sure who we'll be discussing for the next question.
Yeah,
But I am like in this episode, it's kind of like everybody's in it or nobody's in it, you know?
yeah,
Again,
yeah,
no supernatural element, which this is the fifth one, and every other episode has had like a notable supernatural element. So this is the first of the modern series that does not have a supernatural element, except that how could this happen? But unfortunately,
yeah,
we know how these things happen now. So,
yeah, 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 exactly.
but yeah, let's talk about Raph. Does he deserve his trip into the Twilight Zone?
Yep.
Does he deserve to be operated on by a 10-year-old? Might be the most base question.
Well, you know what? He was operating on a 10-year-old or 11-year-old in
Mm.
this case, right? So it's like if you design this world where that is the person who has the power, then guess what? Yeah, the person who now has power over you is that 11, or in his very specific case with the doctor, 10-year-old, whatever. Yeah, yeah, that's what you did because you didn't have the principle to stand up and say, this is wrong. You just kept buying in at every opportunity that might afford you just a little taste of power, just that sweet opportunity to win. And guess what you won? Well, you won a straight up trip to the Twilight Zone being operated on by a 10-year-old doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's like his choices were so effective but all of them were like the wrong choices, like
Yeah.
he's against the odds the entire time. He makes it happen, and that it's like again, that's like putting a bunch of effort into put a gun to your head or something, or
Yeah.
George Carlin's suicide guy thing. It's like takes a lot of planning and stuff to do that, You have to
Yeah.
choose a day, figure out the method, make sure it's going to work, and yeah, but yeah, but
Yeah.
the end
Yeah.
result's not what you want, and the end result here is not what you want. So, and he'd already, I mean, at the beginning of this episodes, he's already kind of like dug himself a career hole in the first place. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I
maybe
got no sympathy for you, Raph. You seem like a smart dude, but you could have stepped up at some point and said, like, oh, no, 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 this is wrong. Not wait until the very end when you're in the Nixon putting room.
maybe that is, the twilight zone of it all. When he's making somewhat rational decisions, it leads to his, failure. When he starts making insane decisions and they all work. That's
Right.
if we do want to call a supernatural element to this. But yeah, it all works without the supernatural element, which is kind of fun, which I
Yeah.
guess brings us to
Well, but I
the
mean, look, again, it's like we live in an era where you can make the worst possible political decisions and still somehow rise to power. So
yeah.
again, like
And we'll see.
this episode being ripped from the headlines, it continues to be that.
I mean, that's happened. You were asking about Japan. I mentioned, like yeah, work hours. It's not European at all, and
Right.
and Japan's taking a little turn to the populist because we have our first female prime minister who's like pretty, hardline war hawk and
Oh,
traditionalist. So
wow, wow.
yeah, I mean, just hey, just for me, I don't need to get another visa till 2029, but she just bumped them from like $50 to like $500. So that's gonna suck.
Oh,
Maybe,
wow.
hopefully it
Jeez.
changes before that, but we'll see. But yeah, there's lots of little things. So
Yeah.
I don't think we definitely don't want 10-year-old doctors. That was Oliver's worst decision, I guess. So
Yeah.
Oliver deserves some medical treatment soon. That's what
Good
Oliver deserves. He
good luck,
deserves a
kid.
need to go to the doctor where it's not going to be an old man anymore.
Right.
And that is a thing though, that it has to be a 10-year-old because an 11-year-old saying old man means anyone older than like 20, right?
Yeah, right. We're in a very Logan's Run type world now at that point.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe that's how the Logan's Run verse gets started. If you don't want to go with the nuclear apocalypse version, this is how Planet of
Right.
the Apes. It used to be a nuclear apocalypse. Now it's a virus.
Yeah,
Logan's Run used to be nuclear apocalypse. Now it's bad
yeah,
political decisions.
exactly.
Uh,
Which go hand in hand. But yeah.
let's start this one. The tripometer. 0 is not trippy. 5 is very trippy. Where do you want to place this one?
Well, I mean, with the absence of any sort of like supernatural or magical force at play here, I think it's a step back from the trippiest. And in fact, I'm going to land right in the middle and say that it's a 2.5 because it's trippy in the sense that bad things happen, but it is not trippy in the sense that you just kind of watch it and go like, yeah, of course the worst people have power. The worst people enable the worst people to have power. And we just seemingly line up for it. So it is the most absurd way to look at something that is completely real and believable.
Yeah, I could distill that to my job where I mentioned earlier I got a work computer now. We started using those for classes this year, and one of the first things was um, don't let the kids touch it. And if a kid wants to touch the computer, that's the last kid in the class you want to touch it, right? The one
Yeah.
that wants to touch is the one you don't want touching it. And the other kids would probably be fine, but yeah. So
Right.
that's the whole
Right.
thing with power structures, isn't it?
Yeah.
For me, I'm going a little bit lower too. A lot for
Okay.
the reasons you said that it's just there's too much realism, and a lot of that too comes from the weird operating theater set, which is as
Yeah.
Kafkaesque as possible, and
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course the trippy lights in the Nixon putting room.
Yeah, right.
I just finished doing all that Severance where they really own taking the bland room and giving it trippy lighting, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
But you
I
have
have a
to, I guess you have to ask yourself, like, okay, maybe Nixon had that installed, or maybe the kid had it installed. But either way, it's like you install that dramatic lighting for the purpose of drama. Like you know that at some point you're gonna have to use that to just scare somebody with a special effect. You
yeah, that's
know,
why you bring them in
there's
there.
yeah. We're gonna meet in here in my room that has special effect lighting, just so I can intimidate you even further. Yeah.
Did Nixon put in the bowling alley? I think Nixon's the one that put in the bowling
I think
alley.
he did. Yeah.
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 So he was tricking out the White House when he was there, I guess. Oh, I don't know if the
Yeah.
putting thing's real, but I could check. I don't know. I didn't think about
Yeah.
that
I don't
before
know.
I was doing the
Yeah.
trivia. Anything else you want to throw out on this episode? There's like so many directions you can kind of take this one in, you know?
You really can. I mean, you can pick this apart at any slice and go, this is an indictment of social media. There is a problem here with adults allowing the kids to have too much too soon, too much power, etc. You can look at this as a commentary on the corruption of power. You can look at this very specifically about an analysis of somebody who is completely emotionally immature, attaining power and abusing that. Um, it, all of it hits too close to home. It really does. Yeah, this is the like an even darker version of idiocracy, and the kid is not an idiot. The kid is just immature. And when you give somebody that immature power, and then the adults in the room are too scared to speak up, um, too scared to do anything about it, then this is how you just end up living with this as the problem, the hell that you created for yourself.
Or you think you're doing your duty by supporting the kid, right? It's like this is the structure I've committed myself to. That's the Aaron Douglas thing. What is he supposed to be, chief of staff or whatever? Or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, he's I mean that's the creepiest thing about him because it's kind of a tossed off conversation. Well, that's treason. It's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I guess yeah, forget I said it, but that totally bites him in the butt, you know.
yeah.
Literally with a bullet. Well, the gut, I guess, not the butt, but well,
Oh, by the way, so I don't know yet about the putting green, but the checkers speech actually it predated the Nixon Kennedy showdown. This was actually 1952, and Nixon had been accused of some financial impropriety,
no
and
way.
yeah, and then it is actually credited with saving his political career. Um, because he was vice president along with Eisenhower running for president, so that actually saved him. Fast forward 8 years later, and he's just sweating during the debate, and and that's why Kennedy won, supposedly,
Yeah.
allegedly.
Okay, so Checkers did not make it to his actual White House term then, but I guess he might have been
No.
around for the VP stint.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the fun. Who wants to know about like geopolitical decisions when we can talk about dogs and putting greens? That makes politics
Right.
more history more fun, right?
Yep.
I guess we'll wind this one down. You, I guess, are probably maybe cranking back up. We're about mid-January as far as the listener's concerned.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a really firm premiere date for Enterprise, for Mission Log, just because there are things that we want to revamp, things we want to retool. Of course, we have the holidays behind us. So, yeah, I would give you a date if I had one, but I don't. But Mission Log Live, or at least the sort of retooled version uh, of Mission Log Live, will hopefully have started around January 6th, right around there. I really want to do something about Star Trek Scouts and put that into context, because I think a lot of people don't really get it. It's not
I
really,
heard about
it's
that
not,
once a few months ago, and I've forgotten about it since. So yeah,
yeah,
you're talking to me there.
yeah. It,
I,
it, it is, it's not aimed at an audience older than about four, but it's Star Trek, so we want to talk about that a bit. And then, of course, Starfleet Academy will be premiering on January 15th. So our live or revamped version of live will be out right around then.
And of course, the main mission log does have what? You've done five, six series. I didn't count the anime one there too. So it's not like there's
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
there to double negative my point.
599 episodes plus 83 supplemental shows. I mean, yeah, that's a lot.
Over here, I don't know if we do that many shows, but we do a lot of shows. This Time Enough podcast. You can support that, rate, review, whatever. And we're at podcastiopodcastius.org. We also talk about we're supposed to be really good and really bad movies over at Films and Filth. Although we're current, which John has been on many episodes of, and we are currently for whatever reason doing all of the Fast and Furious movies and then temporary renaming it Fast Films and Furious Filth. So
Yes,
I'm exploring this franchise for the first time. So I'll tell you later if I actually like it or not.
nice.
Okay, I guess it's time for some 10-year-old surgery. American healthcare. No, when I had actual health issues several years ago, I was pretty happy to be on the Japanese healthcare system.
God, I bet. Yeah, yeah. So weird, man.
We still have to pay out because, British, like if you're in England, you're not paying for anything, but it might not be that
Yeah,
efficient. Japan's pretty
yeah,
efficient. You're
yeah.
paying a little bit, like, yeah, but not like you don't get the medical bills you get in the States where it's like you
Right.
go into the hospital for a night and they want $50,000 now,
Yeah.
which insurance
Uh,
technically is, I don't know. I have no clue how it works in the States because I haven't done medical care
well,
there since
nobody here does either
2009.
because your insurance is it's just so many variations in what insurance will cover or won't cover and what's pre-existing, and it makes no damn sense.
Yeah, I guess it's like
Really
half, well,
terrible.
more than half socialized because it's just in my job, the
Right.
government plan is part of that, and you pay like 30% of things, I think, and but they're not the prices aren't like tricked out like they would be in the States. So it's like
Yeah.
what seems like a
Yeah.
reasonable price, and now you're paying like 30%, I think, is how it works. So
Right. Right.
it also comes in weird ways. That's why we keep having our weird dentist things where Luke or myself like, oh God, we got to do this podcast and go to the dentist because you go to the dentist like four times because for weird insurance reasons. So like you'll
Huh.
go in, they'll check your teeth and clean your bottom teeth. You come in a week later, now they'll clean your top teeth, and then you come in a week later and they'll like check again. So it's like you've just gone to the dentist four times in a month.
What? How weird. Huh?
The trips are all
Didn't know
pretty
that was a
short.
thing.
When I live practically next to my dentist, so you go there. I'm in
Okay.
the waiting room like 3 minutes, five at most. About 10, 15 minutes in there, and I'm out, and it costs like $5. So
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
the other weird one, not on my insurance plan, but I think it has been working as acupuncture. So
Oh, huh. Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
so which I was having some issues like just getting old, joints, knees, thumbs,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah.
But and for a while, it's like, is it getting better just because the weather is getting warmer?
Oh, right.
But now it's getting like right now my thing says it's 29 degrees outside, and it does seem to be improving. So I think it has been working.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
So
maybe that helps.
he
Right
doesn't
on.
go needle heavy. A lot of it is just like I guess physical therapy stuff where he's like mashing the muscles on the
Right.
bottom of your feet in insane ways too. So, but it's
Right,
it's
right.
still not technically like medical, right? So it's not on my insurance.
Yeah, like kind of in between, a little gray area. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's one I'll at least give a little thumbs up to if yeah, I'll recommend
Nice.
acupuncture to people.
Oh, very good. I could, starting to feel just like pains of dubious origin.
Yeah.
And I went for a massage the other night. It's like I feel a little better, but maybe I need this more often.
No, I was there yesterday morning. I was like, well, it does hurt, but it seems like a useful pain, right? And there's a difference
Yeah,
between just like
right.
nasty pain and a useful pain. Nasty pain was a few last week when the little 3-year-old kid, we're doing food in the lessons, and he comes up and he's always trying to climb around my head and stuff, but he comes up with the two plastic ice creams like, have an ice cream. I'm like, oh, thank you. I grab one, and as I'm fake eating the ice cream, he punched me in the crotch.
Oh God. Oh God.
Kind of drop kick a kid like just like Oliver.
Might happen.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna
Oh,
go
God.
ahead and hit the record on this. Thank you, Patreon folks, for listening.